Here we are, Larry, with the grand entrance of La Parka, who will probably dance before the match is over, probably before the match starts and after the match is over.
And in between.
And in between. He's somebody that has become a fan favorite, somebody that really revolutionized Mexican wrestling with his peculiar style of wrestling. There's Super Parka, who's actually his uncle. They've been feuding for a while now. They're both from Monclova, Coahuila, the state of Coahuila. And there's the dancing. Okay, now see, he's getting the people into the match, much like Brazo de Plata did, much like Gallo Tapado did. If you notice, Mascarita did. The Mexican wrestlers love that. They love to get the people into the match. And some more dancing. The people are asking him to keep dancing, Larry. Now I got a question. You know that great rock group, Brujeria?
Oh, yeah, man, brother.
Would they be big fans of La Parka?
No question. No question about it.
I would love to see...
With the bones and the skeleton and all that, forget about it.
I would love to see La Parka and Damien 666 up on stage, just posted up while Brujeria is just jamming out.
That would be great.
And on Halloween night.
Great.
You should try to rent their services for a show, Brujeria with Damien and Parka up on stage on Halloween. Incredible. Now Super Parka, as I said before, his uncle, somebody that actually helped train La Parka. They've been feuding for a while. They feuded in Arena, Mexico. They feuded in Tijuana. They feuded in Juarez. It's in Torreon. And they've been drawing, huge crowds everywhere that they've gone, because of their aggressive style, and plus the fact that Parka is a fan favorite everywhere he goes.
Because this match is something like, I cannot believe like what I am seeing. It's almost like a bad case of overdose on hallucinogenic drugs.
That's right. You got
one Parka wrestling another Parka. I can't believe it.
One in orange or red, the other one in the traditional black and white. And let me tell you something. Volador was Super Parka's original wrestling gimmick. His son Volador Jr., probably to me the best high flyer right now in Mexico City, wrestling in Arena, Mexico. And this is the original La Parka, who had to change his name to LA Park due to legal issues with the originator of the name, Antonio Peña, the president of AAA. So now you have La Parka from AAA with the same exact outfit, and you have LA Park wrestling in Arena, Mexico. But this is the original from Monclova, Coahuila, La Parka, LA Park now as he's called.
Almost sound like the case of the imposter Larry Rivera, chick.
What happened there?
I don't know if you remember that. There was one night, another Larry Rivera come on the TV, chico, and you say, who is this guy?
Who was he?
But that's an imposter, chico. That
was an imposter.
I'm not even gonna give credit to that. That's all that's gonna be mentioned about that.
So just one Larry Rivera, and it's the one that's with me.
Ándale pues. That is absolutely correct. As you see, Super Parka.
One Larry Rivera, one of the members of Brujeria. You're a big fan, you have to admit that. Big fan. And we're seeing some Brujeria right here, because and let me tell you something that I've seen in many matches between Parka and Super Parka. A lot of times during the match, they will actually exchange masks, and it'll look even more weirder. So if you want to talk about being on hallucinogenics, you should see when LA Park is wearing Super Parka's mask and vice versa.
I can't wait for that.
Now, Super Parka been wrestling probably about 20 years now. La Parka, or LA Park, has been wrestling about 18 years. LA Park, if you remember, was in the LWO with Eddie Guerrero. In WCW, he was part of that group that Eddie Guerrero started with Hector Garza, Dandy, Damien, and it was something that really started Eddie Guerrero on his way to popularity, because it was the first time they let him talk. Before, they would just put him into the ring, and he was such a wrestling technician. But this was the first time that we actually started to see the personality of Eddie Guerrero when he was leading the Latin World Order.
And as I recall, La Parka was very popular in the WCW, especially with the playing the chair like the guitar, doing the robot movement. Very popular. with the American kids.
Yeah, they called him the chairman of the board. Unfortunately, WCW never really understood Parka's unique wrestling style and never gave him the shot that he deserved, but he went back to Mexico, and to this day is one of the biggest draws right now in Mexico. Super Parka taking off his glove and slapping Parka on the chest a good 5 to 6 times. Now Parka's probably going to take his glove off, there we go, and do the same thing to Super Parka. He's asking the people are telling him, yes, we want to see you smack him the same way he did you, and that's what we're about to see, Larry.
You know, going back to what you were saying earlier and extending that a little bit further, I don't believe the staff at the WCW, Mr. Bischoff, do not understand.
Could you pronounce his name again?
Eric Bischoff, Chick.
Exactly.
Do not understand the value of the Mexican mask, of La Máscara, and what that means to the sport and to the people. He underestimated the value by removing the mask of Rey Mysterio Jr., removing the mask of Fuerza Guerrero Jr., removing the mask of Psicosis. What is the purpose of that? Without any build-up, any kind of payoff, chick. It was more like a slap in the face. But that's just an opinion of su servidor, Larry Rivera.
No, you're absolutely right. I think the wrestling community was incensed. I was there in WCW when that happened. I fought Eric Bischoff, or Bischoff as you called him, tooth and nail not to do it, but he was hell-bent on doing it just because he could, and he really almost ruined a couple of wrestlers' careers.
Single-handed.
Yeah, but now you've seen, some of these guys that were in WCW, the huge stars that they are in Mexico, like La Parka, Damien, Halloween, Silver King. The Parka hitting Super Parka with a tope, un tope suicida, a suicide tope, Larry, and right up against the guardrail.
Super Parka looking like he's in the back of the head. Hard. He got ready.
I'll tell you something. La Parka was a unique character in WCW, somebody that to this day, that even though he hasn't really wrestled in the United States for about 5 or 6 years, he was in TNA for a little bit. People still ask me about La Parka. His unique style was very was a fan favorite, crowd pleasing, and that's something that Parka has always been able to do. That very few Mexican wrestlers that come to the United States, sometimes their style doesn't translate, but Parka's style always translated well with the fans. They liked him anywhere.
Conan, I've had some opportunity to spend some time with La Parka, and one thing I noticed when I was sitting at the table with him having some drinks, I looked at the hands, and they are the scarred hands of a warrior. This guy has been in his chair of tussles, if you know what I mean. And we're not talking about inside the ring, we're talking about outside the ring, chick.
Yeah. Well,
he's a one tough guy.
Yeah, Parka's a guy that never shied away from fights. Me and him had a real good one in Guadalajara once in Rio Nilo that started in the ring very professionally and ended outside of the ring personally. And to tell you something, he's one tough person, somebody that I respect as a wrestler, and he's a real good friend now. At that time, we were mortal enemies. But Parka really grew up in a tough environment in Monclova, as I said before, and really has had to fight for everything that he's had in wrestling. And I salute him because, like I said before, Larry, right now, not only is he one of the highest paid wrestlers in Mexico and one of the favorite wrestlers in Mexico, but he revolutionized the style. And because of him, we have Super Parka, we have Parka AAA, we have La Parquita, and we have so many other wrestlers that have designs that look similar to La Parka.
That's right. Not only influential with the in-ring style, but in the wrestling fashion as well.
You saw Super Parka arm drag him off the third, and he might have hurt La Parka seriously, because I see the Parka, just the way he's moving, that he might have either had the wind knocked out of him or he might have hurt his shoulder. But he's really having trouble standing up. And Super Parka, who, like I said before, has trained him, has been his partner in the ring, knows better than anybody else anything that Parka can come up with. But we'll find out in this match if, it's kind of an old cliche, but if the student has bettered the master.
that may be the case here, Chico. And talking about back to the fashion statement here. Look at the elaborate costume, the fashion, the trunks, boots. A lot of time goes into designing this thing, Chico. It's a long way from the black trunks and the black boots of Dick Murdoch or Vern Gagne.
Definitely, this is not the traditional style of wrestling outfit, and Parka's not your traditional type of wrestler. He loves to do humor, but at the same time, he loves the brawling, and he also loves the extreme aspect of wrestling. But if you want to go hold for hold against him in the middle of the ring, he's also very well versed. I mean, he's about as well-rounded a wrestler as you can find. He reminds me a lot in that sense of Eddie Guerrero, because Eddie could wrestle you in any type of match that you wanted. Parka, out of the same mold.
Could be a death match, could be American style, Japanese. Doesn't matter. And look at Super Parka taking off like a pescado and a pájaro mixed together, Chico.
Yeah, he looked like he definitely. When he was Volador, when he wrestled as Volador, and he was Misterioso's partner, who was a good friend of yours, Misterioso.
Hello, how you doing, Chico?
I actually went to wrestle in Salt Lake City not too long ago, and I saw him. He's living over there now, but when he was a partner of Misterioso, he used to do some really revolutionary and unique high-flying moves. So it's something that is in his arsenal. He's not, I wouldn't say he's as good as La Parka in extreme wrestling. He's a good brawler, he's a good ring technician and a flyer. But I think the one thing that Parka probably has that Super Parka doesn't is he's mastered extreme wrestling really well.
Beautiful inside rolling cradle by Super Parka. Only gets the two. Besides, Parka close to the foot on the bottom rope.
And this match has really been a match that's really, look at Parka holding on to his wrist. Remember I told you before he might have hurt himself? I'm sure he did now, just the way he was holding his wrist. But, you got to remember, these two wrestle almost nightly. So they come here to the Denver Coliseum to wrestle for free for Eddie Guerrero. And, who knows if they've been wrestling 10 days straight, 15 days straight, if they've been, sleeping in pain. It's just, I can just tell by the type of match and the pacing of the match that they're both hurting.
And it's like the old NFL, Chico, the old Green Bay Packers, Chico. You pull a hamstring, you still play. You sprain your ankle, tape it up, get out there, play both ways, Chico. That's just the way it is. And in some sport, unfortunately, you have some people that are spoiled, or the babies, but in this sport, in this business, you have no choice. The show must go on, Chico.
Yeah, it's old school mentality. You wrestle if you're hurt. You wrestle if you get there late. You wrestle if you forget your wrestling outfit. You just wrestle. That's the bottom line. If you can show up, you have to wrestle. And, they're both old school wrestlers anyways. So they're the type of guys that I wouldn't doubt if both of them are wrestling with severe injuries, but they're out there for one reason only, for this Eddie Guerrero tribute show at the Denver Coliseum. And we've seen we've seen a plethora of stars so far. We've seen Mascarita Sagrada, Pierrotito, Felino, Villano, Super Porky. I mean, we have seen Turi. We've seen a pretty good mixture of young, new, older wrestlers, and everybody coming out for one reason, to show their respects to that grand legend, Eduardo Guerrero.
Rest in peace, Eddie. Your family is here. We are here for you. And the best thing that we can do is do what you knew how to do best, and that is professional wrestling. Right, Conan?
Well, to tell you the truth, Larry, besides the fact that he was one of my best friends in the business, besides the fact that I learned so much from him, he used to take me to his house in El Paso, Texas, and I would talk with his father, Gory Guerrero, before he passed away, about wrestling, and he would teach me wrestling maneuvers. And Eddie spent a lot of time with me. He was without a doubt. Now I would say I've been wrestling 18 years, and I wrestled in Stampede, Canada, You know, I wrestled all over Europe. I wrestled in WCW, ECW, WWF, AAA. I've been everywhere. He was without a doubt the best wrestler that I ever wrestled with in my life. I mean, Eddie Guerrero was just a special, special wrestler. And Super Parka's mask came off, and and Parka, this is the second tope he hits him with in the match. And he hasn't been disqualified. So obviously Mexican rules are not applicable or do not apply in this match. Because that's an automatic disqualification.
Super Parka making no effort to cover the face. Some of you fans have seen old footage of luchadores losing the mask, and it's almost like they're losing the mother, chico. They do anything they can to cover the face, cover the head. So no one, not the cameras or the press, the fan, no one can get a glimpse of what that face looks like.
Now here, Parka, as I told you before, he's more experienced and better at extreme wrestling than Super Parka is, and he's taking it extreme. He's wrestling, bro. That's something you would never, ever, ever see in Mexico. But you also got to remember, something, Larry. I just remembered one of the reasons why his mask is off. He's already lost his mask in a match.
Okay. So then maybe he's...
Yeah, so he just went up.
Concerned.
Exactly, because Rey Mysterio Sr. does the same thing. He'll go into the match with his mask, and sometimes he'll just take it off at the end of the match. And one of the reasons that they wear the mask is for two reasons. One is a lot of people still think the mask is cool, and also they sell their mask at the shows. Super Parka with his foot on the ropes, but Parka was still, or LA Park was still able to break the 2 count.
Close. It's 2-7-8.
How many times have we seen somebody grab the referee and the referee doesn't do anything? There, he just got clotheslined by Super Parka, but he picked up the chair and nailed Parka with it, and that might be it. But wait a minute, remember, he pushed the ref. That might come back to haunt him. 2, 3, that's it.
Super Parka.
With
that brutal chair shot to the head. Super Parka, the winner on this Eddie Guerrero tribute show.